Namaste, everybody, and welcome to today's program. Today we're going to talk about the gunas. The gunas are very important. You don't hear too much about the gunas in Ayurveda, but it plays a very important role. You hear about the doshas. You hear about vata and pitta and kapha dosha. But in Ayurveda, we understand that disease is caused by vata dosha, pitta dosha, kapha dosha, rajas, and tamas. And the last two, rajas and tamas, are gunas, and they also cause disease. So we need to learn a little bit more about those. These gunas mean qualities, and they're the primary qualities of nature, sometimes referred to as the mahagunas, or the great gunas, the great qualities of nature. Everything in nature is made up of three fundamental qualities: the quality of clarity, the quality of disturbance or turbulence, or the quality of inertia. These three gunas, or these three qualities, are called sattva, rajas, and tamas in Sanskrit. And these three gunas are responsible for the functioning of your mind. Now, they also do affect the body, they affect everything in nature. But in our conversation, we usually bring it into the conversation about the mind. What is your mind like? Is your mind clear, like sattva? Is it turbulent, like rajas? Is it more inert and darker, like tamas? Let's explore these a little bit more. A sattvic mind leads to a sattvic personality. This is an individual who tends to be calm and clear, is more walking through this world as the witness of the world, not getting too caught up in all of its dramas. This is an individual that may engage the world, but does so from a more selfless place. In fact, they can even work hard in the world, but they're not caught up in its drama. It's like being in the world, but not of the world. They can do work even in socio-political milieus, but they're doing it from a calm inner center. They're not overly disturbed in their emotions by the turbulence of the world. So a sattvic individual engages the world, but does so in a calm, pure way, and their mind is calm and clear. Now, a person that's more rajasic engages the world in a more turbulent manner. This brings up a lot of emotion inside the mind and thoughts inside the mind. There could be fear and worry and nervousness and anxiety, anger and intensity, passion. There can also be attachment and being overly sentimental. In other words, caught up in the dramas of the world. This person too may work toward the benefit of others, but does so from a very engaged way where their own emotions are dependent upon often the results that they get. So their emotions go up and down. It's a very common way of being. Many conscious individuals are more rajasic because they're aware. You see, it's rajas that brings about awareness. It's true, but when we become aware of the challenges of the world, what happens then? The rajasic individual gets caught up in the drama of the challenges of the world. The sattvic individual works toward correcting those imbalances without getting caught up in its drama. Simply sees it as their dharma or their purpose in life to provide that service. Now, a tamasic individual is somebody with more inertia or darkness in their mind. And this is a heavier state of the mind. And there's a gradation, of course, in all of these. So on one hand, this individual is more inert and dull and less reactive to the world, but also less aware of the challenges that this brings about. Other individuals who are tamasic are going to be reactive to the world, but in darker ways, which means that they're going to tend to cause harm to themselves or to others in response to the stresses of the world. So this is a spectrum. On the one hand, you have somebody who is sattvic. On the other hand, you have somebody who is tamasic. And in the middle, you have an individual that is more rajasic. So just to summarize, tamas, we're pretty much unaware of the challenges of the world. Or if we're just becoming aware, we're reacting in very dark ways. Rajas, we're aware of the challenges of the world and we're really caught up in the turbulence of emotion around that. And sattva, we are aware of the challenges of the world, but we're not caught up in its drama. We're simply performing our dharma, performing our actions in the world. Sometimes the gunas are likened to being next to a lake. Imagine that you're sitting next to a lake and the lake is perfectly clear. And you look into the lake at night and what do you see? You see the stars reflected on the surface of the lake. Likewise, a person with a sattvic mind is a reflection of the divine qualities of existence. We look at them and we feel their divinity. We see their divinity in their eyes. Now you sit next to that same lake and you throw a rock in the middle of the lake. And the rock creates waves, and those waves move out to the side. Each of those waves is a turbulent emotion in the mind. And so if the mind is like that lake, then all the stresses of the world are rocks being thrown in the lake. And all those ripples are thoughts and emotions that challenge us. And now imagine stirring up the mud at the bottom of the lake. And now that whole lake is murky and muddy, and you look into it and you don't see any stars, and you don't see your connection to the divine, and all you see is the mud, and that mud blocks you from seeing the divinity in all of creation. Or if you do begin to see some of it, you react to it in dark ways. And that's tamas. So this determines your fundamental nature. And that's then going to interact with your constitution to determine your overall personality. In Ayurveda, we want to work toward being more sattvic, which means that over time, and that time can be years, decades, and even lifetimes, we want to move toward being more pure within our mind, which means getting less caught up in the drama of the world, even though we're aware, even though we're being of service, less and less caught up in the drama of the world, finding ourselves as the witness of the events of the world and trying to do what we can do to alleviate suffering. Over time, we want to be untouched by that drama so that our own inner physiology is not disturbed. You see, when the mind becomes disturbed, the physiology of the body becomes disturbed. The mind and the body are one and the same. If the mind is feeling a feeling like fear or worry or anger, every cell in your body is responding to that fear, that worry, and that anger, and every cell's function is disturbed. Oh, we talk about it in Ayurveda in terms of the doshas, vata, pitta, kapha. But even in the realm of Western science, we now know that to be absolutely true. Chemicals are produced inside the brain. Neuropeptides are produced inside the brain of every person who thinks a thought or a feeling. Those neuropeptides then attach themselves to the cells of your body, and they are going to influence the functioning of those cells. So in other words, when your mind is angry, every cell is angry. When your mind is in love, every cell is in love. And so the physiology of the mind affects the physiology of the body. And this is going to affect the health of the body as well as your capacity to heal from any condition that you may have. So how do you cultivate sattva? Cultivating sattva means to live a calm, pure life. This is not easy. This is not easy because in our society, we generally don't value a calm, pure life. We value an exciting, indulgent life. And that is a life that ultimately leads to suffering. So calmness means to spend more time in meditation. Calmness means to spend more time with those you love and care for in joyous ways. It means to eat foods that are going to promote that clarity in your mind. This is why in Ayurveda we tend to value a vegetarian diet, because a vegetarian diet is more sattvic. It leads to more clarity of the mind, whereas a meat-eating diet leads to more tamas of the mind and also more rajas, more turbulence and more inertia within the mind. And there's much more to this science, and you can check out my book, Healing Your Life, Lessons on the Path of Ayurveda, and I go into the gunas a lot more and the kind of lifestyle to lead to cultivate that clarity of mind that will ultimately balance your doshas and allow you to achieve optimum health and well-being. May your journey towards sattva be prosperous for you. May your journey bring about clarity of your heart and clarity of your mind. May it lead you to deeper and deeper love and deeper wellness until ultimately you experience optimum health and peace of mind. Many blessings. Namaste.